Okay, I have 7:02. I'd like to reconvene our meeting after our executive session and ask you to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. I have no announcements. Is there any public comment from the board?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I would like to let the board and the public know that I will not be seeking re-election in May. It has been an honor to serve the citizens of Lunenburg over the what will be 12 years, and I've truly enjoyed working with each of you.
We're sorry to see you go, but 12 years, that's a long time. Lunenburg's been lucky to have you.
Thank you very much.
I think we'll have plenty of opportunity between now and then to thank you in the appropriate ways, but I would like to echo the fact that we appreciate all the service that you've given to the town over the years.
Thank you.
When we can figure out what vacancies we have on committees she might fill.
Remember the tip.
Any other comment from the board? I would just like to mention that the feedback I've been getting on the cooperation that the town has provided to the town of Fitchburg over the use of the Passio School in the crisis with the Crocker School and the broken pipe has been outstanding. And the feeling of cooperation between the two towns, I think it's notable to recognize the superintendent, Loxie Combs, and the town manager, Heather Lemieux, who worked with several other people, but worked to make that happen and make our town proud. Is there any public comment from the public? Okay. Our first order of business this evening is a 7 o'clock appointment with Lloyd's Limousine Service with regard to a limo license renewal with changes to the original application. Is there somebody here from Lloyd's Limousine? Please come forward, sir.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Tom Crouch, the owner of Lloyd's Limousine Service.
Okay, and would you tell us what the reason for this application is? I understand there was a move or something.
Yes, I moved from the car barn located on Route 13 to Post Office Box 502, Lunenburg. Mm-hmm. The reason for that was twofold. The car barn was process of selling the property, and they wanted to, just clean up the address that way. And the other was that I never had occasion to park a car at that location. What happens is, just like Uber is the largest transportation company with no vehicles, things are changing with technology, and all of our business is done by phone apps or the internet, and the drivers park their cars at their home and then go to the client to pick them up and take them to the airport or vice versa. So there's no need for a physical place lot to park vehicles. So just a post office box is fine, and that's what we're applying for.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
the only question I have, I'm going to move to approve this, but one of the things I raised in the prior thing for us to have a to-do is to look at what communities are doing for requiring for Corey checks for this. I believe that taxi cabs are required to have it, and other limousine in various communities have to do that, so that I just like to make sure we get that on our to-do list.
Certainly.
I would make a motion that we approve the transfer of the address for the Lloyd's Limousine Service.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, our 7:05 appointment is with Council on Aging. It's a discussion of the Council on Aging's mission and goals. We've invited them to join us this evening, and I would turn it over to the Chair of Council on Aging to tell us who he is and why he's here.
I'm Pete Lincoln. I still live at 46 Hemlock Drive since 1979 in beautifully Hickory Hills. And I appreciate the opportunity to come before the board and especially before the town to explain what the Council on Aging is and what it does. People new in town, it's located on 25 Memorial Drive in a historic building, which was originally the Bellows House. And our mission, as stated, is to advocate for improved quality of life for all seniors through supportive services, programs, and education. The Council on Aging, COA, is a Department of Municipal Government authorized under Chapter 40, Section 8B of the Massachusetts General Laws. This permissive legislation allows the municipality to establish a COA for the purpose of coordinating and carrying out programs to address aging issues in coordination with the programs of the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. In Lunenburg, our Council of Aging is made up of 11 people. I believe it's the largest committee of any of the town's committee. And we meet on the second Tuesday of each month at 9:30 in the morning. And I'm proud to say we usually have a plenary attendance at all of those meetings, which is very positive. I am the chairperson. Jack Dwyer is the vice chairperson. And our other members are Betty Giacomo, Sarah Grant, Brian Gennard, my wife Deb Lincoln, who will be speaking here tonight, Kevin McNally, Cheryl Moisen, Diane Now, Jane Rabbit, and Judy Tarbell, who is also in attendance. The staff is made up of Sue Doherty, who is our director, Amanda Koch, who is the administrative assistant, Pauline Roy, who is the outreach director, and our kitchen staff comprised of Joanne Brazil, Judy Ilario, and Elsa Watson, and our van drivers that drive for Mart are Jim McGuigan, Paul Grunditz, and Leanne Normandin. These are the people that comprise our senior center. And Sue will go on from there.
Good evening. I'm Sue Doherty. I'm the director at the Council on Aging, and we're doing a little joint effort here with the board and myself and kind of doing a midterm report on what's going on at the Council on Aging. Everything's going really well. Numbers are up, and we just kind of want to let the town know what kind of services we offer and what we do, because not many people understand what a Council on Aging does, or a senior center. So some of the services we have available at the Eagle House Senior Center: we do information referral to various agencies, meal and nutrition programs, health, fitness, and wellness programs, transportation services. We're a site to accept SNAP applications, which is food stamps, and we accept everybody, not just elders, families, everybody. So come on up, and if you need help, we can, put in an application for you. We have volunteer and civic engagement opportunities, social and recreational activities, educational and arts programs, and intergenerational programs, which is pairing the seniors up with kids from the school, Girl Scouts, Boys and Girls Club, things like that. You can see some of the agencies that we deal with on the slide here: SNAP, Massachusetts Councils on Aging. We do community outreach. We refer people to assisted living, Central Mass Agency on Aging, Executive Office of Elder Affairs, AARP Tax Aids, MART, Montechusett Regional Transit Authority, Neshoba Nursing and Hospice. And if I could fit them all on there, I would, who we deal with, but there's only so much room and so much time that we can devote to this. Transportation. We offer transportation to Lunenburg residents age 60 plus, under 60 with a disability. All you have to do is call Amanda. She's our transportation coordinator, Monday through Thursday between the hours of 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. She can book the rides. So we go anywhere. We go from, we can go to shopping, we can go to barber, hairdresser, drop people off at restaurants, go visit a friend or somebody in a nursing home, banking, and of course doctor's appointments. So that's what we do with the transportation. We have 3 great drivers, and that's the transportation part of it. Activities. I'd like Deb Lincoln, she's on our board, to come up and explain some of the activities we do. And once again, we can't list them all, but Deb is like our expert bingo caller there too, so.
Well, first of all, one of the things that the COA wants to do is really get people 50s and 60s to encourage you to not think that you are too young to come to the senior center. You are not. We have all kinds of activities there for you, and you are not too young to come. So please come and check us out. Some of the activities that we have pictures of on this slide are bocce, bingo, we have cultural programs, we have creative coloring, we have, with Fitchburg State University, we have some community reading, we have pancake breakfasts. Ben Franklin, who is our pet partner therapy dog, and he's really cool. We have the Sheriff's Department come in and tell you how not to get scammed. We have intergenerational bocce, and when spring comes, we have a recreational area where you can play bocce. Hopefully we'll have our shuffleboard court in order by then. We have horseshoes, and we have floral arrangements. We have special catered functions. We have arts and crafts. We have cribbage. We have volunteer cookouts. And what I would really like to encourage people to do is, if you can think of an activity that you would like to have in the community for 50s, 60s, please let somebody on the Council on Aging know, or go to the Eagle House Facebook page, which we will tell you how to get there later, or the Eagle House webpage. Please let us know. We always are interested in what our 50s, 60s, 70s plus people are interested in doing. We want to welcome you, and we want to provide for the community what you would like to do for activities. So please contact us. If you think there's an activity that you haven't seen here, we might already have it. We can't mention them all, but please come and test us out. Thank you.
We also have Friday movies.
Oh, right. Yeah, check us out and ask us about those too.
The Eagle House is primarily funded by the municipal funding. All our salaries and works on the house, on the building itself, is funded by the town. We also get what's known as the state formula grant funding. For every senior over 60, the state provides a certain dollar amount. Last year was $10. This year's down to $9.70. $30 is chipped off. But I think that comes up to about $20,000 we get from the state. We have what amounts to a booster group that are known as the Eagle House Supporters, and they do various fundraisings. The committee itself cannot fundraise, but the supporters do fundraise, and then Sue will usually provide them with things we need that are not provided in the general funding. Anything, we just bought a pool table, which is in tremendous use from this fund. We also can apply for grants. There's various program donations from various healthcare agencies and local businesses, and we do quite often get donations from private individuals, usually in memory of someone. 2 very nice heavy metal benches was simply put out just very recently. And you see here the sheet which shows from various resources help them fund these programs, the garden beds, the painting walkway. We've been trying to get a walkway down from the upper parking lot to the lower for a long time, and that's finally been put in. It's working well. It was just repainted, so it's grit in it so no one slips on it. There's a new horseshoe pit that was put in by the Boy Scouts. There's shuffleboard that we're still working on, the bocce court. They purchased a shed a while back to keep all our outside equipment and all the athletic equipment, and the pool table, which I just mentioned. So the funding is primarily from the town, but there are also lots of other opportunities, and if people would like to do something in memory of someone, get in touch with Sue at the house, and that can be worked out.
So next up, we have our volunteers. We have right now, as of last year, we had 41 volunteers. That doesn't seem like a lot. I've been to other COAs. Pepperell, for instance, I think they said they have 115 volunteers. How they manage that, I don't know. But in FY17, we had 41 volunteers who range from Meals on Wheels drivers, kitchen help, bingo callers, program leaders, handymen. One of our board members acts as, I call her my Walmart greeter, when I'm short-staffed in the office, and she guides everybody to where they should be, and, you know, she's really wonderful. But last year, they gave 2,318 and a half hours of their time, and if the town were to pay them at a minimum wage of $11 per hour, it would have cost $25,503.50 for an employee to be hired there. So as you can see some of the pictures here, we have the volunteers help out, we have the Meals on Wheels drivers, we have people that help in the kitchen, we have a volunteer recognition every year, and we give out certificates to those who participate. We like to, you know, reward them. Last year, with funding from the formula grant, we were able to do a breakfast volunteer brunch, and a speaker from United Way came in and spoke about the merits of volunteering. So it's really good. I mean, 41 volunteers, that's pretty good. That's pretty manageable. But, you know, we don't know what we would do without them. Speaking of which, I have to make a plug. We need Meals on Wheels drivers. It's a volunteer opportunity. We actually have one of our drivers here tonight for another reason, Bob Hamill, and he's been with us for a long time, and he's really great. But you come up just one day a week for like an hour and a half, you deliver locally. There's a small stipend, a mileage stipend that you get, but it's a wonderful opportunity if you're looking for a volunteer opportunity. Come on up and see us.
How much time does it take in the day?
About an hour and a half, maybe. They come up, the food is loaded up, it's already pre-packed in the kitchen. We have two different routes that we go out on. We call one the Red Sox route and the other one the Patriots route. One seems a little longer than the other with more people, but that's because it's more like in the Whalum area and Pearl Brook, so they're all condensed. And the other one goes out through, it can start in the center of town, all the way over to Hickory Hills, to Flat Hill Road, to Lake Shirley, to Reservoir Road, and back again. But they come up, they pick up the food, they just, you know, it's a hot meal and there's a cold pack, and they deliver it to the people. So it works out good. So now we can get into the stats. Like I said, we're growing every year, and I know I've said this before. What I did was, I don't know if they can see that, I try to make it bigger on the TV. But, so like I said, this is a midterm report, so I took the stats from my senior center, which is our computerized system where when everybody comes up to participate in a program, they have like a little, I call it the CVS card, and they flash it in front of the screen. And all the activities of the day pop up, and they just press what they're there for. If they're there for volunteering, they can put in their volunteer time. It's a really good tool to have. So last year, from July 1st, 2016 to December 31st, 2016, we had 600 unduplicated, which means individuals, come into the center, and they participated in 5,701 different activities, and that's just for half of the year. From this year, from July 1st, 17 to 12/31/17, we've had 626 people come in, and they participated in 5,970 different activities. So it's growing. This is my second year as director. It's my 21st year working there. And it's growing. The first couple of years as director, it grew slightly. We opened up again on Fridays, which was a big boom. We can do transportation for people on Fridays. It's really opened it up. I know we had a big growth spurt, and then it slowed down a little bit. But that's expected because of the Friday, and as long as it keeps growing, I'm happy with that. And in the transportation stats, they basically stay the same pretty much all the time. All the years I've been doing these, they really don't waver too much. Last year, we had 49 riders that took 1,586 rides. This year, we have 52 riders that took, so far, 1,677 rides. And like I said, medical, other would be hairdressing, banking. Rec social is up to the senior center, and shopping. Shopping's a big one. But, you know, once again, they're growing. And Pete Lincoln will come up next and talk about the goals of the Council on Aging.
Hours of operation are 8 to 5 on Monday through Thursday. There's special Wednesday hours, and we're open Friday as well, 8 to 4. We are closed on weekends and holidays, and everyone should know if the schools are closed, the senior center is closed as well. We've had some conflict with that in the past.
Is it going to be closed tomorrow?
We're going to have school tomorrow.
School is canceled tomorrow for Lunenburg.
It has already?
Yes.
See, Boston announced that it was going to have school already. Well, and our goals that we have, we revamped these goals. In fact, we had a special meeting at Christmas time to go over things we would like to try to do, sort of management by objectives they do in business. But we're trying to expand on intergenerational programming. That's something I am really concerned about, because we have, I think when the census was done last in 2010, we had 2,100 people 60 and over. We will probably have 2,500 by the next census, and we have about 600 seniors currently taking advantage of the Eagle House. So I think, as Deb has already pointed out, I know people in their 80s that say they're not old enough yet to go to the senior center. That's just not true. And our focus is more and more to try to get activities for younger folks that are still active. There isn't a lot for people to do in Lunenburg if you are getting along in age. There are still fun things to do, not just remedial things. And so that's one of the things we're really working on. We're trying to expand on our recognition of veterans, expand on our health and wellness programming, and incorporate community input for innovative programs. Those are our specific goals that we talk about almost every week. There's one other program I don't know if everyone in town is familiar with, and that's the Boston Post cane. In 1909, the Boston Post, which is a flourishing newspaper at the time, gave out over 400 gold-tipped canes to citizens in 400 or 500 different towns in 4 of the New England states. And that cane originally was to go to the oldest male in the town. In 1920, coinciding with women's voting rights, women's suffrage, it's changed to the oldest individual. And Lunenburg has managed to keep that going now for 110 years. If anyone in town knows who got the canes before 1969, please let us know. I've researched as best I can, but the town reports back in the day were pretty much financial reports. There wasn't much social activities involved. We do have a list of the people who received these canes from 1969 to the present. Sarah Powell, who was our most recent one, just recently passed away at the age of 104. So there will be a ceremony this spring for the next recipient of that award. My message to the town is that the Eagle House is a dynamic place to be. And if you can possibly just drop in and visit, I'm sure there's many, many people. We have a lot of new citizens in town the last couple of years. Drop in and just see what goes on there. There's a very active, flourishing group. There's activities every day, and it's something that I think you might find you connect in some way. And as Sue has pointed out, as Deb has pointed out, we're always looking for new ideas, always. So if you have anything you would like to suggest, please stop by. I'd like to thank Jamie Toll, too, who's over the last few meetings has come to us as a liaison and does what I think a liaison should do, listen both ways. Hear what we get to say, hear what they've got to say, and give us the opportunity tonight to talk to the town, to promote our committee and see exactly what we do. Right now, as I said, we have plenary attendance in a plenary group, but anybody else who would like to stop in and volunteer to help out, all sorts of things you might be able to do in that regard, and we would certainly appreciate it if you would, and I think you'd feel better for helping out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions or comments for the Council on Aging?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I just say, now that we know school is closed, that means the senior center is closed. The staff will be there to answer phone calls and do all that, everyday stuff, but if the van is running, we'll have to leave that up to the van driver tomorrow morning to figure out how the roads are. Obviously, it just started snowing out, so we will be closed for programs tomorrow. And we just got the new February newsletter in, so I'm going to leave them here. Please, everybody, help yourselves. Okay? Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We hope that all of our committees and boards take advantage of an opportunity like this to come and introduce themselves to the town and also to the board and go over their goals, et cetera. Or before I let you go, are there any things that the Board of Selectmen can help you with to help you achieve those goals?
Publicity. Anything that we are trying to do that it would be helpful for people to know about. Publicity is important in everything that goes on in town. Let people know what's happening, what they might be able to help with, or particular activities, like the Boston Post cane, for instance, just to announce it. And that would be a huge help.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All righty. Our next order of business is a appointment or the ratification of an appointment to the Senior Citizen Property Tax Work-Off Program Committee, which is an appointment by the town manager.
And in your packet, you have Robert Hamill, who is my recommendation for appointment for this committee appointment. And he's here tonight.
Tamil? Want to join us?
Good evening. My name is Bob Hamill. I've been a resident of the town for 65 years, retired in '06. Since then, I've joined many different groups, member of the Lions Club and Eagle House supporter, Friendly Senior. I'm in the Friends of the Library, member of the Historical Society. And after hearing Paula's announcement, I think I might be interested in running for selectman.
Fantastic.
Be careful what you ask for.
And I'm interested in the open committee member on the Senior Citizen Property Tax Work-Off Program. I also, as Sue said, I do Meals on Wheels also. And so I spend a lot of time with the seniors. I drop in on the senior center and help set up for events when we have an event going, or just general work help around the Eagle House. So I've been there quite a bit, and I think this particular committee would work out slick.
Great. Sure.
Sue Doherty, Chairperson of the Property Tax Work-Off Committee. I would just like to say, we're a 5-person committee, and we've been looking for that 5th person for a long time. Bob is a great guy, and I think he'll do a wonderful job. He's a great Meals on Wheels driver, and he's a stand-up person, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or?
Just a comment. I want to thank you for everything that you're doing in the community, and you truly are making a difference. And having had both my in-laws and my father were participants in the Meals on Wheels program, and it's not just bringing a meal, it's having that interaction with someone that's so important. So I want to thank you for doing it.
They're so grateful, just when you show up with a meal.
Absolutely.
And just all smiles and thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for everything that you've done, and I would like to make a motion to ratify the appointment of Bob Hamill to the Senior Citizen Property Tax Work-Off Program Committee.
Second?
Any further discussion?
I just also would like to thank you. Just looking at all of the things you do in our community is just so fortunate to have folks like you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You get to work with a lot of great people when you do these things, and it's a joy. It's a joy.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our current business, our first item of current business is to open the warrant for the May 5th, 2018 annual town meeting. It's that time again already.
Wow.
And the warrant will close on Thursday, March 22nd at 6 PM.
Yes. So it's a motion to open the warrant and close on.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in
Time
fa-
flies, boy.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I did skip over the town manager report, which will set the right tone for the rest of the things, right? So we'll do the town manager report now.
Just a few things to report on tonight. The OPEB funding policy, the Finance Committee reviewed the policy at their meeting this past Thursday, and they had a couple of questions, which I'm following up with Parker Elmore of Odyssey Advisors, who does the actuarial study on. The Finance Director and I also have a meeting with the Sewer Commission on January 30th to discuss the Sewer Commission's OPEB liability.
Is that the only enterprise fund that applies to, or are there?
Yes, we have water enterprise, but there are no employees.
Okay.
Update on the Town of Lunenburg Facebook page. The Facebook page has been live for 2 weeks now and has approximately 600 likes and over about 700 followers. So we hope to build that up to a positive number. An email has been sent out to department heads to make them aware that if they have any events, programs, or other public notices, to forward them, and we can post them on the site.
Now, who is managing the site?
I am.
You are?
Mhm.
Okay.
Complete Streets. The Complete Streets workshop was on Tuesday, January 9th, and we had approximately 16 people attend, including board members. There were a number of locations in town discussed to increase safety, either through road markings, greater connectivity by constructing new sidewalks, and speed is an issue in certain areas. This meeting is available to watch on YouTube, and all the materials related to the Complete Streets that will be up on the town website shortly. The next step in the process is our consultants from Woodard and Curran will put together a survey to solicit more input from residents on areas in town that would benefit from improved safety and or accessibility. And we will then circulate the survey through various means, including online, as well as hard copies that can be left around town. Town facilities, this reminder, the date for the public forum with the seniors at the Eagle House will be February 5th at 10 a.m., snow date of February 26th at the same time, 10 a.m. Business Town Partnership Workshops, the next scheduled meeting with the business community will be February 12th at 10 a.m. in the Town Hall. In anticipation of approval for the district local technical assistance from MRPC to assist creating a brochure and permanent guidebook that will highlight our businesses and resources in town for the promotional brochure. I've confirmed this date with John Hume at MRPC, and the report that they presented to the board in December will be re-presented at that meeting as well. A meeting invitation will be sent out to all the participants that were involved in the process in the fall, and also advertised on the website and Facebook page. The fiscal 19 budget and annual town meeting schedule. In your meeting packets is the budget and schedule to meet deadlines for the May 5th annual town meeting. For the fiscal 19 budget, departments were given a target budget to meet, and any requests that exceed those figures will require an explanation of why the expenditure is necessary, such as whether it is to meet increased demand for services, is to restore a previous cut, is mandated, or will result in an increase in revenues. The presentation for the 5-year financial forecast and fiscal 19 capital plan will be presented to the Finance Committee on Thursday, January 25th at 7 p.m., and I will present my recommendation for the fiscal 19 budget on Thursday, February 15th at 7 p.m.
In the department target budgets, was it the same percentage for each department? How was that?
Essentially, the cost of living increases that were already included for collective bargaining agreements and in the SAP were included in their budgets, and they were pretty much level funded for other areas.
Well, what about the school department?
They are not given the process, they're not giving a target budget. They provide what they approve through the school committee, and I usually meet with the superintendent during the budget cycle to discuss the budget.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
As you get an opportunity to look through the calendar, if we should coordinate, and if we're going to have a quorum at any of those finance committee meetings, we should post that so that we have the ability to deliberate if we choose to.
And is it in one of these things?
It's 2018
It's on Google Drive.
annual town meeting schedule.
I
That's all I
certainly
have.
plan to attend as many as I can.
I'll be attending as many as I can as well, but I can't.
Should we let you know
We can
at
just
the
post.
beginning of the
We
week?
could post all, we could
of
post
them.
all the
Might
ones
as well,
and if
right?
we don't have a quorum, we don't
have a quorum,
we
yeah.
don't convene.
I think that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Okay.
I think the only thing is, though, is that when we post, the question is that we're supposed to put what we reasonably expect to discuss. So the question is like a budget review session, we wouldn't be taking any action as far as, I'm just wondering whether there are any things that we would actually plan to take a vote on
Probably the public hearing
the budget and FinCom.
on the public.
Typically, I mean, I think in the past, what we've done is, and I know, other members of boards have attended, even though a quorum of the Board of Selectmen may be present, it's unusual, and we may actually speak as individuals, it would be unusual for us to deliberate as a board during those meetings. The only time we do is, we typically have our own meeting relative to the budget. So I don't know. We don't typically
I would tend to agree with that. Maybe the one I would disagree, maybe the one on January 25th, because that alternates between whether it
typically
gets done here or whether
Right, we
it's not.
typically do a joint meeting for that particular,
Right.
because we do call the meeting to order and we do vote, but I think
Right.
that the majority of the other meetings, it would be very unusual for us to deliberate, because typally it's, they
I'm fine
need to
with that.
formulate the budget.
I'm fine with that.
And then the only other one would be March 29th, the Finance Committee public hearing, and FinCom final votes on all warrant articles, because we may choose to wait to take a vote on a position on an article. We may want to do it at that meeting.
Okay.
So that one, we would possibly take votes on warrant articles.
Okay. Why don't we target those two and then not bother with the others? And
Okay.
obviously, we're all going to try to attend as many as we can, but we could speak as individuals and not,
Exactly.
yeah,
So
fine.
the January 25th and the March
March.
29th?
29th, yeah. Fine. Do you have anything else on that?
No.
So then that leads into opening the warrant, which we just did. I apologize for getting that out of order. Our next current business item is to sign the renewal of the ban for the middle high school bond. Is this the last one?
And the band is bond anticipation note.
Here. Stickies. That
I
should
have
be
a, I have a question on this calendar. The town caucus is just a tentative date. When will that be firmed up?
So that comes from the town clerk. It's usually the second Monday in March,
It says March 12th, but
which
it,
is that date, so it's usually so many days in advance of the election as well.
She may be trying to find a location or something, but we can check on
I
that.
can check with the town clerk.
great, thanks.
So I guess I should read this, huh? The bond anticipation is for $2,100,000, January 25th, 2019, with interest at rate of 1.5% per annum payable at maturity calculated on the basis of a numerator using 30 days and a denominator using 360 days. And it's been signed by the treasurer.
So this is a renewal note, and what the financing structure has presented to us was we do bond anticipation. You pay off some of those, and some get permanently financed, some get paid off.
And you usually go out to bond when the project is entirely complete and all the costs are known, and then for final bonding.
I would make a motion that we sign the renewal of the bond anticipation note as presented.
So, second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sure.
Okay, we have a discussion on economic development survey, which is in your package, I believe.
Now, is it just a one-page survey at this point?
Yes. So I especially want to thank Selectman Bertram for developed this survey. She put a lot of information put together as far as the questions. I worked with the land use director as well in his comments. We incorporated some ideas about ranking some of the questions. So this is to hear
I have
your
a couple
feedback.
comments. Are we open for the comments yet, or are you just going to review it?
Sure.
Yes.
Well, when I look at question 2, and with question 3, where it says Lunenburg's greatest challenges and distance to major highways is one, we can't do anything about that, so I don't really see the point of even having it listed. You know, where it says, and again, on that same one, it says too many new homes being developed. What I hear more is the too many apartments being built, or apartment developments. So I think that, at the very least, if you leave too many new homes in there, you also add apartments, because, as a separate thing, because that's different from homes. And again, I don't see why we can't do anything about how far we are from the major highways, because we turned down 190, so I don't get why that even belongs there.
I guess I was surprised to see the housing on here if this is supposed to be an economic development type survey.
Yeah, right.
What, I'll tell you, because the majority of this I kind of pulled together and then Adam fine-tuned it. I basically looked at surveys from surrounding communities as well as nationwide and pulled what I thought were the most appropriate questions for Lunenburg. And understanding, you know, this was one that I saw throughout all of them. So it's really just a way of obtaining information. And knowing what people think are the hurdles for economic development, and certainly, you know, rewording that to perhaps say that. And Phyllis is right, we can't change our location. But just to give you an idea of how this came about is really, it was based, it's a conglomeration of other surveys that other towns have done.
And you know, in number 6, I bet most people don't know where residence A or B is, or where the industrial zone is.
We did talk about that, and that needs to be fixed. And one of the talks is perhaps doing it by road corridors rather than, because I agree, I mean, I don't know what residence you are, so, but it's tough. I think it's an important question, because knowing, and whether or not you have a map that's associated with it, or an image that you could, you know, pick Area A, Area B, Area C.
Yeah, maybe a map.
But we need to ask that question. I think it's an important question, but I don't know how you distinguish.
I mean, it could be Electric Ave, Route 13, Chase Road,
could be
Leominster
major-
Shirley Road,
Right.
center of town, Route
Major
2A.
route corridors, right.
You know, but what this asks, you know, do you want business growth in a residential area? And you're probably going to get an answer of no, but you probably want to ask that.
So I agree that response has to be worked out for number 6. Adam had suggested road corridors, which is what you're suggesting, Bob. I think that makes the most sense. But it might also be helpful to incorporate an image, and people could, you know.
That's what we discussed today is exactly what you described, having a map that corresponds with each road corridor.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And on 7, I might change the last sentence to, please select the items you would frequent, like, it may be interesting to you, but if you're never going to go to use a community kitchen or go to the local craft brewery, it's...
Although if you
don't-
something like, well, actually, all of these are user spaces.
Right,
it could
Well,
also be people that want to start up this type of business too.
Right, but it also could be people, I mean, I'm not going to use a community kitchen. I may purchase the goods from a community kitchen, but I'm not going to use a community kitchen. But I'd be very, very thrilled to see one. So I don't necessarily agree you have to be a user of it. So I think that, and if you're selecting your level of interest, you're interested in it in some manner, whether you're going to be participating or whether you're going to frequent or whether you're going to purchase items or, but you could be interested in a number of different facets.
Yeah, I see that.
So I think you get some feedback.
So as pertaining to number 3, were there other categories that you want to
I mean,
include?
challenges, not enough jobs.
Yeah.
Not enough places to build businesses, not spaces to rent. I was trying to think about what came out of some of our, at the workshop.
Yeah, lack of,
Restrictive zoning or bylaws.
yeah.
All of these should have an other, too, or most of them should have another. So, for example, number 3 should definitely have another. 2 should have an other.
Even people talk about the permitting process, right? How difficult it is.
Right. That's what I was saying, is the bylaws and restrictions, yeah.
And lack of opportunity. I mean, Bob kind of touched on it, but lack of opportunities to do your business that you envision.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you would accomplish this, but I almost think that question number 4, which is really asking, what's your appetite for economic development at all, kind of drives, I mean, I would certainly weigh the opinion of people who are supporting medium or large growth differently than someone who's supporting or advocating no growth at all. It's almost like a determinant factor. I mean, if the overwhelming number is in one of those 3, it tells you how much weight you put in the others.
Right. I
You
think, right, and I think that, there was actually a dialogue about that one, is whether or not we want to really zero in on what type of growth we're talking about. What does modest growth mean? What does large growth mean? And I think that my way of thinking, and this is really a survey to determine the appetite of people for economic development.
Right.
And if everybody answers no growth, well, what are we doing?
Right.
So, but if and then from that response, you can then fine tune, and from the other responses, you can then zero in on what it is that you want to aim for, and what other ideas you want to flush out. But it's really a starting point. I think this is the first of many public involvement and public engagement tools. So, I didn't want to get too technical and too, really down into the weeds, because I think this is just a general questionnaire.
And we want people to respond. We don't want
Yeah,
to get
Right, we don't want to
overwhelmed
overwhelm them with.
Right.
Okay, I think I've,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the work.
Thank you, Selectman Berger.
You're welcome.
Okay, one day entertainment license fee. Okay, and we have this survey of the other towns in here. Is there anything else in here on
Yes,
that?
no, so the proposal is $25 fee for a one-day entertainment license.
And how many have we issued traditionally a year?
I believe not many. I want to say a handful.
And $25 covers the town's expenses?
Yeah.
I would make a motion, we approve the fee of $25 for the one-day entertainment license fee.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Right of first refusal for Lot 5 Prospect Street and Cross Road.
So the town received a request to take this piece of property out of chapter, and so the request before the board is to release the option of first refusal.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Sure.
So in looking at the responses from the Conservation Commission, the Open Space, and the Planning Board, there's some interest on a couple members of the Planning Board, and the Open Space is interested in a parcel behind that abuts. So I can't figure what piece it is that they're talking about. And does the piece that they both the Planning Board and the Open Space Committee says if that one were to become available, we should entertain that. Do we know what that is and whether or not it has frontage?
If you go to the GIS page, you can see
Is there a
larger-
GIS in there? Because I was looking at the map and I didn't see it.
If you go to the actual assessor's
Oh, okay.
map, that little chunk hasn't been broken off yet. You can see the entire parcel.
The little
The
assessor's
Lot
map.
5 is a new lot out of the big
You have to go
parcel?
to the assessor's.
Oh, so this is a new lot.
But does the big,
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it. Where are you
town.
seeing it, Damon?
Because that's the... Oh, okay.
Okay.
And it looks like there's frontage further
So
down
there is
Cross Road.
frontage on the other road. Okay, that was my question, would this piece that people are saying we should look at in the future, if it becomes available, does it have frontage? So the answer is yes.
It's my
And
knowledge.
Okay.
The larger parcel is subject to a lot of wetlands and the gas easement.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to make sure it had frontage, because in order to access, obviously, one of the issues that we ran into with Town Forest after the construction of the home was we didn't, no longer had meaningful access. So I want to make sure if there was an interest in this parcel in the future, should it become available, that we would have access to it, and it does look like we would.
And even looking at that, the plot plan in the package that they gave us, it's mostly wetlands. I
Right.
wouldn't call that corner lot meaningful access itself, personally.
Well, if they're going to build a house on it, there's got to be some high area that you can access, because they're going to build a house.
But
So-
they show the 100-foot limit and the 30-foot limit. There's not a heck of a lot of space there. And that being said, I will make a motion that we not exercise the right of first refusal for Lot 5 Prospect Street and Cross Road.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Just the one?
Yes.
Okay. We have minutes from December 7th and December 12th. And I believe there was one change made as a result of input from Selectman Watt.
Mark does helps without it.
I have warrants for accounts payable in the amount of $1,226,254.84. And accounts payable in the amount of $172,455.23.
Just to note, that's the final payment for the middle
Oh.
school.
Before we sign that one, this one includes the final payment, or is the final payment, for the school building project.
That's great.
so that we will get one of those other things that says, you know, we're authorizing, but this is the warrant, where if we have any questions, we have an opportunity to question it, which we don't. Okay. Any action file issues?
I had one. During that meeting we had with town boards, several boards brought up that they needed help with minutes taking and recording. You know, I take them for the Stormwater Task Force, and it is time-consuming, you know. Luckily, I'm retired. I don't really know how folks who work fit in taking care of the minutes. So what's the status of that request? Because at that meeting, we said, what can we help you with? And that was one thing several boards said they needed help with.
Well, I would have to see how all the budgets come in, and if that position would be able to be created, if it's in our means too.
Mr. Chairman, on the final payment for the middle school, high school project, this is a pet peeve of mine, and I apologize in advance, but in looking at the collaborative room, in being in the last collaborative room we were in, I saw another stain on one of the ceiling panels in the corner. Do we know the status of any leaks? Have they all been corrected? And at what point in time will the ceilings be repainted or the panels be replaced? Or, I mean, this is a multi-million-dollar school, and it just bothers me that we're seeing, you know, big brown stains on the ceiling. Do we have any idea?
Well, they will be into our next meeting to do all the closeout documents for the project.
Okay.
With representatives from the school building committee. So I can ask that question in advance of that meeting so they can come to that meeting
Okay.
with the answer. But I believe we had a preliminary meeting last week, and they are dealing with some final warranty issues with certain contractors, so that may be one of them.
Okay, so this warrant, this final payment, doesn't have anything to do with those open concerns?
The way I understand it, I was at that meeting, the way I understand it is there are some items that are still being worked, but they are warranty kind of items that are outside the contract price to the builder. So that this is like the last payment to the builder, and that whatever, and I don't know the specifics of which of the punch list items, but there are punch list items that still need to be done, but they're not tied to any payment.
All right, well,
And that's why I brought it up at this point, because once we get to the next signature, we've passed on our opportunity to do anything about it.
so
But
this is...
that $172,000, whatever
Yeah,
it
the
is,
$172,000.
does not directly correlate, but it is the final payment, and then there are some punch list items that the contractor is still working on.
Well, one of the issues that, and I don't know if anyone attended one of the workshops that we had in the collaborative meeting, Heather was giving a presentation, and I don't know if anyone else noticed it, but the projector was shaking. Did anyone else notice that? And one of the punch list items that came up that was an issue was some of the equipment. They were having problems with some of the equipment, and my recollection is that one of them was a vibration. Is that associated, is that what we were seeing, or is that something altogether different? Does anyone know?
Altogether different. I believe they had to put stabilizers in, and that was a previous
But is that why it was shaking, though? Because you were giving the presentation, and it was really difficult to even pay attention to because it was shaking. Did anyone else notice it, or was I having a little senior moment or something?
I think that was a standalone projector. I don't think that one was anchored to the ceiling, right?
Yeah, I just know, I'm aware there were certain rooms where the projectors, they had to put stabilizers in.
So the other thing I note on this, there's an application and certificate of payment from the contractor, and it says current payment due of $172,000. It does say balance to finish $790,000, including retainage. So the question is, has all the retainage been paid out? Looks like it's zero. Well, they will hold money back. So is this $790,000 what they've not spent that's under budget?
Correct.
All right, so, all right, so, I guess the question I would have, while there's punch lists and while the various things that are going to be the current billing, do we, this literally is the only leverage we have to find out what they've done about the roof leak.
So I think, I have to tell you, I don't think that we signed this yet. I think we have the discussion and make sure that everything's closed out before we release the final payment.
I think that
That's why
makes
I brought it
sense.
up.
You know, I just want to make sure that, I mean, being in the building, there's a couple things that I have questions on.
I would say we should hold, even though we've signed, I would say we ask that this be held.
Can we just cross that out and, I mean, Karen can reprint it. I would be more comfortable crossing out my signature.
Okay. And cross mine out too.
Okay.
You can cross them all out.
Okay.
Now, back to the action file issue and the town manager's response. My question is what you said, if there's money in the budget, we'll address it, or is what you said each board and committee would come up with a request to do that through some line item budget?
No, if there were money in the budget, we would address it.
There isn't anyone on staff that could fit that in.
I'm not aware of anyone,
Additional hours possibly, but.
And you have to keep in mind that if a person were hired to do a variety of boards, if it's over 20 hours, then becomes a benefited position.
Right, because, you know, having done minutes, I mean, a lot of the committees aren't publicized and aren't televised, so they'd have to attend those meetings, then whatever hours they spend doing the minutes. So if you put all that in.
Well,
on
they
all
could,
the-
they could, do like we do for executive sessions. You could record them.
Okay,
wouldn't
but
have
whether
to
they
attend.
record them or not, they're still, whatever time that meeting is, whether it's a 3-hour meeting, they're still listening for 3 hours. Whether they're there or whether they're at the meeting, it's still 3 hours that they have to be present, whether
It's their time.
remotely or not.
It was just that I remembered that was something that many boards said they wanted help with, so I was just following up to, are we able to do anything about it? That's the question.
See if it fits in the budget.
Okay, committee reports. Mr. McQuaid?
None for me.
Ms. Luck?
The school committee met on January 3rd. They discussed the calendar for the next school year, as well as the capital requests and the FY19 budget. They're meeting again tomorrow night, maybe, weather permitting, I guess. I attended the steering committee of the Central Mass Regional Stormwater Coalition on January 9th and the State Stormwater Coalition meeting at DEP today. The statewide Stormwater Coalition has gotten a grant of $200,000 from DEP to plan an education and outreach program for the state. And 2 hours of our meeting today was a presentation by Think Blue from Maine that has just a whole program that we can kind of just take and run with it. So, by June, we should probably have educational materials for everybody in the state, which is huge because there are 2 minimum control measures that depend on getting that stuff done. So that's going to be great. The Berkshire Regional Planning Commission got a $50,000 grant to come up with an approach toward meeting the illicit discharge detection and elimination part. And the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission got another $50,000 for a off-site mitigation manual for redevelopment projects. So all of these things will be a really big help to the cities and towns in Massachusetts for complying with the MS4 permit. And the Central Mass Regional Stormwater Coalition is working with Worcester Polytech students again this year, and the students are going to develop a curriculum regarding watersheds and stormwater pollution prevention and water quality that aligns with the 5th grade Common Core standards, and so they're preparing a unit that the schools can use with 5th graders. So that's another really big help to all of us. And that's it.
Not a lot to report. Conservation Commission is supposed to meet tomorrow night. The MPO meeting that was scheduled for tomorrow has been postponed, and it will be sometime next week. They haven't decided on a definitive date. But I did want to let everyone know that they're really trying to get involvement, and I do have some information from Heather to share with Brad Harris and with the members of the MPO relative to Lunenburg's needs. But anyone that's interested in providing input, there's a number of hearings and meetings scheduled throughout the months of February, March, and April. And you can find out the exact schedule on the MRPC website. And on the website, there's also an email for Brad Harris, who is the transportation director there. So if you do have things you want to share, check out the MRPC website at mrpc.org, and you can send information to Brad.
No report.
And I have no report. Okay, our upcoming schedule, we meet on the 23rd, next Tuesday. I'd like to remind you that there's a meeting on February 5th at 10 a.m., a public forum at the Eagle House, and then our first Selectmen meeting in February is February 6th. Is there any public comment from the public? Sir.
Dave Rogers, 82 Highland Street. I was at home watching the telecast, and I had some questions on the ban, and I was wondering if you would be kind enough to take some time and explain that in more detail, because on Facebook recently, Mr. Mackin indicated that the building committee had closed down, and he wanted to thank everybody, which we should be thanking them, and that it came in $4 million under budget. And it was my understanding, which is why I'm here, that we've gone to final bonding, and if we haven't, I'd like to know why. And I'd also like to know more specifically what the whatever it is, $1 million is for specifically, if I could, please.
Well, I'll try to answer as best as I can. So we have not gone to final bonding. This is a ban
Right.
in anticipation of final borrowing. So we can do short-term borrowing up to so many times until we have to go for final borrowing.
Right.
Bond. The project, even though it's complete, it still has to go through the process with MSBA, and until the town's percentage is the final figure, we cannot go out for a final bond for that project.
Okay, how is it that it was determined, if I might add, that it's just 2.5, what is the number, 2.2?
Paperwork's down there.
It's the thin one.
No, it's the thin
That one, the one in your left hand. Right hand.
No.
Your other left.
This,
The other left. You want them all?
This is where all the signatures are crossed off.
Yeah, no,
Different
that's the
definition.
ban, this is a different thing. This is the
It's
final payment for
1.5.
So
the
that's
contract.
1.5%. The amount is $2,100,000,
Okay,
And the interest rate is,
1.5
right.
annual.
so
And
the
the numbers that Mr. Mackin was sharing, and we cautioned him when we had the meeting there, the school is coming to our next meeting.
Correct.
Is that correct? They're all subject to audit, so that's a real good ballpark figure.
Sure.
Subject to
Yeah,
some
that's fine.
audits. And I believe what the town manager said, and I don't want to speak where I don't know what I'm talking about, but I believe that we don't do the final bond until we have the number down to the pennies.
Okay, well, how is it that we're even borrowing this money? Because we have retainage, and it would seem that once the final audit were done, and everybody said, okay, this is your share, our share, boom, 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 that's when you would get whatever money. So it seems to me that the 2.1 per million is arbitrary, and I just want to make sure it's a lot of money. And I can't for the life of me understand where that overage would be?
So MSBA would reimburse us up to, I believe it's 56%,
Right.
approximately.
Yep.
So until that is determined, they're going through, everything's put into categories, and they do an audit, MSBA, of all the expenses and is eligible for reimbursement. So until that is determined, the town won't know their final exact figure.
So this is, and I don't mean this in a cavalier manner, but it's a guesstimate that 2.1 million will handle whatever could come our way in terms of percentage allocations.
No,
I
this
believe
money is
that's-
what has already been needed to spend. We're not going to get any money back if we've already borrowed all the money we need to build the building. We have not borrowed more money than we needed.
Correct.
We're not going to get anything back. So this is, so whatever the millions of dollars that we needed to do it, we've borrowed either permanently or temporarily, the bond anticipation note. Theoretically, we might need to borrow more if they determined that one category, say we had included the track in there, they would say that's not allowable, or you have to pay for it, and you assume that you weren't going to, now you have to borrow money. But I'm going to say that we're going to be pretty close based on the current calculations, unless they change the audit.
Okay, so in layman's terms, if we came out of this thing $4 million to the good,
We haven't borrowed the $4 million.
Borrow it.
we haven't borrowed it. Okay, so the ban, the borrowing in anticipation of this, is half of that $4 million.
Just happens to be that. This is what is needed for, we borrowed almost all permanently, and we borrowed some temporarily, based on what we thought we might need.
This is the breakdown, and that's how we get there.
So total loan authorizes 4.8 million, previous issues 2.5, pay downs 400,000, amount of this issue 2.1, balance of this loan unissued is 2.3 million. So we've authorized 2.3 million more than we're actually borrowing, the town, based on authorization at town meeting. We did not borrow all the money we needed, because we had the ability to do it, but the expenses came in less than were projected, so we only borrowed what we needed.
So at the end of the day, can we, the town of Lunenburg, look forward to receiving something around $4 million in reduced indebtedness?
No, because we never borrowed that money in the first place. The
And
$4 million savings,
Yeah?
we didn't borrow it.
And that's the total savings for the whole project, and you have to think of the split between town and MSBA.
Okay. So when will we be going to final bonding in this?
It will, at a date to be determined. The MSBA process can take 6 months or more.
Okay,
So-
so all of the monies are really kind of in limbo. We haven't gone to close this loan in the final stages.
Correct.
Okay. The reason I'm concerned about this, and anybody that reads the newspapers, I think would be concerned as well, interest rates are on the rise. So, although this is, short-term, it's, very, very reasonable. What's the anticipated percentage calculation that we've projected into this whole procedure in terms of when we close finally?
I would have to ask our finance director.
Sorry?
I would have to ask our finance director that question, as
And
the
the-
percentage is probably around 4%.
And the other assumption is that we will make another pay down on the issue of probably another $400,000.
And
Because
where does that come from?
debt service. So in our budget, we have debt service to pay down the principal of the main loan and the bond anticipation. That's actually what's part of the strategy is that you get a much lower rate on the bond anticipation note, and you're going to pay that down before you finally borrow it. So we need to find out from Karen what is the final expected interest on what we probably will be borrowing.
Right. Do you agree, does everybody agree that this is a possibility that the interest rates can rise? Because we don't have a clear commitment from anybody on funding this, do we? The bonding?
So the answer is, yeah, the interest rates could go up, but part of the strategy was you always keep a certain amount out and not permanent financing, because the lenders don't like you paying down that loan that they've
Sure.
given you the rate for the longer
Yeah,
period of
I
time.
understand. Yeah.
So this is what our financial advisors, I believe, when we did the debt service, to try to figure out what do we need to do and keep out from that final thing, and that's the number where we're at right now. And then the whole thing will be refinanced.
Okay. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I'm still, I still have some questions about this, and although the interest rate appears to be very, very low, if this goes for 6, 8, 9 months, who knows? And I would hope that it's sooner rather than later, because I would hate to be locked into a rate that's higher than it could have been had we cleaned this up sooner. And I don't know what kind of projections they made, but...
Unfortunately, that's not a process we have control over as far as the
SBA.
audit
Right.
process with MSBA.
We can't do the final borrowing, as the town manager said, until the MSBA tells us what the final number is.
Okay, well, that's, okay. But maybe we could tweak the other folks and say, we'd like to, with interest rates, potentially going up, be a good time to get this into a closed situation. So anything that you could do to get this done expeditiously certainly would be in the interest of the town of Lunenburg. Is that reasonable?
Yep, the town is, we're moving forward as fast as we can. We have
Yeah.
a meeting next week
Sure.
to do all the closeout paperwork for this.
Okay. I'm not concerned with the town, I'm concerned with the state. Because they're the ones that we're waiting for, correct? Okay, so they're the ones that I'm concerned about, so, thank you, I appreciate the time. And just a little constructive criticism, when we do these sort of things, I think, a discussion of greater length would have been appropriate in this, because we just said, 2 million, whatever, and I bet you there are plenty of folks at home that don't have the understanding that they do now because of the discussion that we've had. So, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Any other public comment from the public? Any public comment from the board?
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night.